The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was the soundtrack to his youth, each pulse a reminder of the sterile white walls that had become his temporary home. But amidst the medicinal scent and hushed whispers, a vibrant world bloomed in his hands, the glowing screen of his handheld game console. Hours melted away as he navigated digital realms, his brow furrowed in concentration, a frustrated "ah-foo" escaping his lips when the dreaded game over flashed. Yet, as the years blurred, a familiar ennui began to creep in. "Screw this," he muttered, tossing the console onto the bedside table. One day, it was just not as fun as the old days to play games anymore. Whether it was the thrill of an AOS battle, the strategic depth of an RPG, or the adrenaline of an FPS, the magic had faded. "Isn't there some original game out there?" he wondered, idly browsing on his laptop in the quiet hospital room, scrolling through the comments accusing games to be copied from another developer. Then, he saw it. Not recommended, Dungeon and Stone. The description was blunt, almost off-putting. A brutally difficult roguelike with 2D pixel graphics that demanded everything from the player. The pixelated graphics of the title screen looked archaic. "What the hell? There's only English," he noted with a sigh. "It doesn't even really look like my type of game," but the magic word caught his eye. "But it's free, so I'll try it out." The character selection screen appeared, a quirky array of pixelated heroes. There's a lot of types of classes to choose from. He wasn't planning on playing much, so he randomly picked the barbarian. The gameplay was a nostalgic throwback to vertical scrolling adventures. "Oh, the illustration's nice," he mused, a flicker of interest igniting to play more of the vertical scroll. But soon enough, hours vanished without his notice. "What? When did it get so late? I became obsessed with Dungeon and Stone. This game is so much fun," he'd exclaim, a bead of sweat tracing his temple as he narrowly avoided a pixelated pit. Dungeon and Stone was a peculiar beast, its unique and often infuriating mechanics requiring an NPC teammate. Death was a constant companion. Each you died made him do the game from starting screen, which also met with a frustrated groan that earned him a reprimand from the nurses. Yet, amidst the failures, a strange determination took root. He'd whisper strategies to himself. "And later, I was just too stubborn trying to beat the game." The lack of tutorials, in any language, only fueled his resolve. "However long it takes, I'll beat it on my own." From those initial days in the hospital, through his time as a public service worker, the years marched on, marked by university, job interviews, and the daily commute. Countless deaths only solidified his obsession. He was starting to play the game all day without beating it. Instead he died once, twice, thrice. So many times that 9 years later, a weary but triumphant smile stretched across his face. The final boss room. Before him loomed the ominous Gate of the Abyss. "Did you see that, you peanuts? Is there anyone else who has gotten to this point?" he roared, his voice hoarse with elation. 9 years. I sacrificed my 20s for this." The final prompt appeared. "Will you enter the boss room?" "Of course, yes." A chilling follow-up. "You might never come back. Will you really enter?" A nervous thrill coursed through him. Is it because it's the final boss? It's rather ominous. But hesitation was fleeting. "But no way, I wouldn't go in when I got to this point." "You've pressed yes." Loading. He leaned back, strategizing that he is gonna gather as much information in one try, and how many patterns will the boss have and what will be its attribute. Then he smiled proudly as if he is going to first try this boss. Then, a sudden anticlimactic message. "You've reached the abyss. Tutorial complete." A wave of disbelief washed over him. Tutorial? It was all written in Korean, which made him more angry as the game previously only supported English. 9 years. 9 years spent not conquering a grand adventure, but merely completing the tutorial of a notoriously difficult indie game. The bright light subsided, leaving the office worker disoriented. He couldn't understand what was happening with a sudden message, starting transmission. With that he lost consciousness. A voice echoed, congratulating unseen warriors. "Today you will all leave this place and become proper warriors." He was no longer in his office. Torches flickered instead of LED lights, and hulking, tattooed figures surrounded him. A gruff voice boomed, "Pick a weapon fit for you." Confusion warred with a dawning terror. The language was strange, yet he understood. "Where am I?" He fought down panic. "Calm down." Still confused, trying to understand the situation. He looked at his hands, calloused, his arms, corded with muscle, marked with tattoos. "This isn't my body." He asked, "Is this really him?" "Those who are called, come forth," the voice commanded. He found himself standing beside another transformed individual, a blond man. Vanon's third son, Carrick. They stood in a fiery ruin. Carrick instinctively reached for a weapon. A massive, bearded warrior hefted a double-headed axe. The double-headed axe. Great choice, Vanon's third son, Carrick. You are now a warrior. Then, another name, Feneline's second daughter, Avner, stepped forth. A cold dread seeped into Carrick. Wait, this is familiar. Young warriors picking their weapons one by one and being acknowledged as a warrior. With the statement of the main old figure, he understood he was in city named Rafdonia, and with this he finally understood he is in the game, as when he first took Barbarian as a character the game started like this only. Then suddenly a voice, "No way," came from beside him. He looked at Avner, whose eyes were wide with fear, also understood this is the game he was playing. He also can't understand why was he here. Now MC thought he's different. Like me. Who just opened their mouth? The booming voice suddenly roared, closer now. The bearded warrior's eyes glowed red. When did he get here? Was it you? Carrick instinctively cried out, "Enro, this is bad. All because of this stupid dude." Avner stammered, Sorry." The warrior's face contorted in rage. "It was you." Avner's whispered words confirmed Carrick's horrifying realization. "You mean, this is Dungeon and Stone, a blur of motion, the whistling of metal. What up?" Carrick's eyes widened in shock as blood splattered. What the hell? The bearded warrior, axe dripping, commanded, "Calm down." Blood stained Carrick's face. "I'll be dead too if I show any emotion." The bearded warrior, ORM, now looked grim. Kajua's son, ORM, was possessed by an evil spirit. He turned to the others. "Everyone, erase what the evil spirit said from your memories." The booming voice declared, "We shall continue with the coming OFH ceremony." A realization dawned within Carrick. I get it now. Information 1. People like me, who come into the game, are evil spirits. Information 2. You will die if anyone finds out. Information 3. It could have been my head rolling on the ground. The conclusion was clear, depicted by armored boots stepping forward. I need to get through this without being found out. The ceremony continued in the fiery arena, a large crowd of armored figures watching. A burst of urgency filled the air. There is a small problem. Then the booming voice called out, "Next!" Serum raised his arms, a picture of determined strength, as the booming voice echoed, "Next!" Then, Avner, now masked, mirrored Serum's resolve, another "Next!" Don't know my name. Damned game. It should at least tell me my name. Isn't there a stat window or something? He knew he couldn't falter. I can't just guess when my life depends on it. The relentless call continued. Next! Time seemed to slow. Carrick's eye narrowed, focusing on the present. The possibilities low, but this is the only way I have right now. The booming voice urged. Next! In a burst of thought, Carrick calculated his move. 2 seconds until I move after the name's called. His hand clenched, a silent preparation. Just then, the booming voice roared, its focus shifting. Jandel's son Bjorn. His expression hardened with resolve. 1, he thought, marking the first step of his desperate gamble. 2, he noted, counting the seconds. Orem's voice boomed across the arena. 2 seconds since the name's been called. If no one steps up. Carrick's sandaled foot moved, taking a step forward. Determination etched on his face, a single thought resonated. Then that's my name. A flicker of doubt remained, a quiet, probably, a towering figure with long white hair, an intensity passing between them that spoke volumes. A close-up revealed their starkly different expressions. Bjorn, resolute yet wary, and the older warrior, stern with piercing yellow eyes. "Young warrior," the elder finally spoke, "pick your weapon." Flames erupted around him, a dramatic display as the word, "Bingo! So that is my name," made him a little relief. With this his thoughts now shifted towards the second most important decision. But in the armory, amidst an array of brutal weapons. "So, the weapon I am going to choose would be this." The white-haired warrior watched, a curious on his face as Bjorn hefted the unexpected defense. He reached for the shield. A panel confirmed Bjorn's conviction. "Yes, this is the best decision I can make." A voice declared, "Jandel's son, Bjorn. With this, you've become a warrior." Bjorn's stats flashed on a screen. Bjorn Jandel, level 1. Synchronization completed. The virtual world and reality blurred. Data has been transmitted to the administrator. Bjorn's mind flashed back. "When I first played this race, I chose to go with a greatsword because it looked cool. But I died way too much. I died again," the frustrated player had exclaimed. "How do I need to build this character so it can have more survivability?" Dual axe, large hammer all failed. As he tried all the weapons, he started to understand that nothing was working with barbarian, as he was barely surviving in all of his battles. And one day he had this thought. His gaze fell upon a sturdy shield. A thought crystallized. Does a barbarian have to be played as a dealer? The game's logic surfaced. Barbarians are a race with high vitality and strength. While it might not be as good of a tanker as a dwarf, it still possesses the base for a tanker. The player, now fully immersed, thought, "I don't really like doing this since this combat method needs a lot of training. But it'd be a pity to waste all my research efforts so far, so let's give it a go." And with a huge blast on the screen lied a huge monster with a barbarian who defeated it using hammer and shield. He could not believe what he did and create as he defeated the boss without taking any damage. He murmured, "What an op character." This was the most rational decision that he made. A loud voice roared, "Open the gates," and a huge gate stated to open up with the warriors standing beside it. The air in Rafdonia crackled with anticipation. Barbarians that have gone through the coming of age ceremony will enter the labyrinth, the decree echoed, and a sea of faces, Bjorn's among them, turned towards the colossal gates looming ahead. "Warriors, depart," the command boomed, and the white-haired elder's grim pronouncement hung heavy. "Your fate lies in that place." A surge of bodies pressed forward as the gates groaned open, revealing a shadowed path. Bjorn, his heart pounding, ran with them. "I'll run along with them for now," he thought, his eyes darting around at the unfamiliar faces. But, do they know where they're going? The initial rush faltered, replaced by confusion. "Stop!" a voice cried out, and the headlong sprint ground to a halt. "I think we've lost our way." Panic began to ripple through the group. Accusations flew thick and fast. Venom's third son, Carrick, has led in the wrong direction. He doesn't deserve to lead. The weight of their predicament crashed down. He must take responsibility. "All right. Stop it." A new voice boomed, cutting through the accusations. A hulking figure lowered his head. "I admit that I'm not qualified and will step down as the leader." Then, a figure stepped forward, her long blonde braids swaying with confidence. "I'll be the one to lead everyone then," declared Feneline's second daughter, Einar. A wave of relief washed over some. "Einar is wise, she should be able to lead us to the right path," they murmured, hope flickering anew. Bjorn watched Einar, his expression unreadable. Einar, he thought, a seed of doubt already planted. Her yellow eyes gleaming with what seemed like certainty, but as the time passed, same thing happened to her too. She also got lost. "Not you too," Bjorn thought. Now all other barbarians started cursing Einar for making them late to reach Labyrinth. "Einar don't deserve to lead," they said, and stared to pick the next person to lead. With this Bjorn tension arised as they would never reach their destination, but he don't want to grab any attention. Hey! Einar addressed Bjorn directly, her earlier confidence softening slightly. Jandel's son, Bjorn. Are you also here to blame me? Bjorn said, no, I am here to tell you how to get to the labyrinth. Then, a flicker of panic crossed Einar's face. Really? But how? A disembodied voice seemed to offer guidance. You just need to follow those guys. In the distance, a group of 4 figures could be seen, one in shining armor sneering. Ujich, gross. There are barbarians swarming over there. His companion, a woman in a pointed hat, echoed. Those foolish savages. The goblin-like creature among them snickered. There's no way they're going to be able to get anywhere so late at night all armed. Einar, however, seemed to grasp the direction. I see, she exclaimed, a renewed spark in her eyes. Turning to the group, she declared, I've found the way to the labyrinth. Cheers erupted from the others. Really, you are indeed wise. But Bjorn's internal skepticism remained. They're not brainless for real, right? Follow me, Einar commanded, leading them through the twisting paths. Finally, a swirling vortex of purple energy filled the cavern. It's the labyrinth. I see the labyrinth, the sacred dimension of battle. The initial awe soon faded, replaced by a stark realization. Damn it, it really is the labyrinth. Bjorn's unease intensified, the weight of the coming trial pressing down on him. Is it really the right decision to enter the labyrinth? He glanced back at the path they had taken, the thought of turning back a fleeting temptation. Honestly, I don't think anyone would realize me leaving the group right now. A stark image flashed in his mind, a frail figure in a hospital bed. Not only have I been sick my whole life, I was just a normal person who doesn't even have any experience hitting anyone with my fist. Doubt gnawed at him. Can someone like me fight and win against the monsters in the labyrinth? Isn't there another way to pay the taxes of Rafdonia other than going into the labyrinth? The crushing truth resurfaced. All citizens of the city need to pay taxes from 20 years old, and they'll be executed if they're unable to do so. The brutal reality left him with only 2 options. 1. Go into the labyrinth and fight monsters. Or 2. Work at places like the village bars. But the memory of harsh rejection stung. A barbarian? We don't hire savages. In this game, a barbarian can't do any normal work. If this wasn't the case, then I wouldn't have to fight monsters. Urgency filled the air. There's 10 minutes left until the entrance closes. A deeper problem loomed. The biggest problem is that the labyrinth is only open once a month. Bjorn's mind raced, calculating the dire consequences of failure. If I don't go in this time round, I need to survive in this place somehow for a month. What if I really can't get any jobs because I'm a barbarian? What do I do after a week, even if I do survive with the rations? Desperation edged into his resolve. Even if I do survive for a month, my condition will be the worst possible state. If I'm going to go in, then this is the right time to do so. Yet, as he stood before the swirling portal, fear gripped him. But I can't get my feet moving. Because this isn't a game, my life is really at stake. A voice cut through his paralysis. Jandel's son, Bjorn. His hand clenched into a fist, knuckles white. He looked up at Einar, her expression a mix of concern and determination. Feneline's 3rd daughter, Einar. She corrected him. I'm the 2nd daughter. The other warriors have already entered the labyrinth. We're the only ones that haven't gone in. We must hurry, we don't have much time left since we got here late. The portal pulsed, shrinking visibly. 5 minutes left until the labyrinth is closed. The portal is definitely becoming smaller. Bjorn made a decision. Go in first. I'll follow right after you. Einar nodded, her yellow eyes meeting his. All right. As she stepped into the swirling light, she glanced back, a small smile gracing her lips. Oh, Jandel's son, Bjorn. Thanks for your help just now. Bjorn's gaze remained fixed on the shadows beyond her. No need to thank me, he replied, his voice low and gruff. Einar tilted her head, her yellow eyes studying him with a newfound curiosity. "And I have one question. What do I need to do to become wise like you? I've never seen a barbarian as clever as you before. I want to become like you." A sardonic thought surfaced. "You need to be reborn again." Aloud, he simply said, "I'll just give a vague answer. You must always think before you act." Einar's face lit up. "I see," she exclaimed, nodding vigorously. "Thanks for the advice. I'll make sure to repay you for your help if I make it back from the labyrinth." Bjorn's gaze darkened. "If you make it back," he thought grimly. In the game, barbarians are people that don't know fear. They don't seem any different in real life. He looked at Einar. "Einar," he said, his voice gaining a serious edge, "are you also afraid of dying?" Einar met his gaze, her smile fading slightly, replaced by a thoughtful expression. "Isn't that natural?" she replied, her voice calm. She then looked down at her calloused hands, the hands of a warrior. "I'm afraid of dying. But I've been born as a warrior. I'll die if I don't fight. Isn't that the same for you?" Bjorn's eyes narrowed, a flicker of understanding passing between them. "It is. They're the same as me too, huh? They just simply have no choice but to fight. Because if they don't kill monsters, they won't be able to survive in this city." Einar's gaze hardened. "Let's survive and meet again." He gripped his shield tighter, the cold metal a familiar comfort. "And I too am a barbarian." A disembodied voice echoed, laced with finality. "1 minute left until the labyrinth is closed." Bjorn's foot shifted, the rough stone scraping beneath his sandal. "I'm scared." But the voice boomed again, closer now. "The labyrinth is closing soon." Bjorn's jaw tightened, his blue eyes focused on the path ahead. "I have no choice but to do it." He stepped fully into the gloom, his shield raised, a silent promise on his lips. "Not only do I have a strong barbarian physique, I also have the knowledge that I gained from raising thousands of characters." A surge of purple energy enveloped him. "I'll definitely survive in this place." Darkness. Then, a new awareness. The sound of dripping water. A low, guttural growl echoed in the distance. A single thought formed in Bjorn's mind. What's this? Panic flared, quickly suppressed by years of virtual survival. Where am I? But something was terribly wrong. I'm an expert when it comes to dungeon and stone. That's how I came up with this conclusion. The memories flickered, the surge of power, the merging. If I combine the sturdy body of a barbarian and my game knowledge, I can survive. That's what I thought back then. Now, a chilling realization washed over him. Damn it! I can't see anything at all. He pictured other barbarians as how would they be doing in his mind. Based on the game designs. Because there are crystals stuck on the walls of level 1 of the labyrinth, there's no real need for torches. Bjorn's brow furrowed in thought. Wait, don't tell me that this area is the darkness region. His blood ran cold. The place that's on the furthest outskirts of labyrinth level 1, the super rare area that doesn't have light. He took a hesitant step, his hand outstretched. But the darkness region isn't usually the start point though? No, this is the reality, so nothing's guaranteed. Since the start point is random, it's possible for someone to have their starting point in the darkness region, unlike how it was in the game. His virtual commands echoed in the silence. For now, status window, equipment window, character information, status, inventory, skill, daily log, nothing. The familiar interfaces were gone. Heck, nothing's working as expected. Panic threatened to resurface, but he fought it down. No point staying here. Let's try going in a direction first. Bjorn moved cautiously, his shield leading the way, his free hand groping the cold, crystalline walls. The guttural growl seemed to shift, closer now, laced with a predatory hunger. Am I going too slowly? It might be faster to crawl. But I need to be cautious just in case. A searing pain shot through his leg. A monstrous roar echoed in the darkness. Gah! A goblin trap. Jagged teeth of metal had sprung from the unseen floor, clamping down on his flesh. Blood blossomed in the darkness. Your character has stepped into a goblin trap. The cold, unemotional notification mocked his agony. I can't let out any sound. Goblin, the monster that uses traps on level 1. I'm sure the goblin that laid this trap is waiting somewhere near this area. Is it possible it's not in the vicinity? That might be the case. If I'm lucky, IT might have gone away for a moment. Such relieved thoughts are the most dangerous ones. I must assume the worst possible scenario if I'm unable to be certain of the situation. If there's a trap here, then there must be a goblin near here. If a goblin hears my scream and spots me who got caught in the trap. KUGH. The red eyes glinted in the blackness, and the sound of scrabbling claws on the crystalline floor grew closer. The glint of sharp teeth inches away. It will wait for me to lose my strength while waiting in the darkness. But Bjorn was no ordinary player. Even in the abyss, a flicker of his virtual instincts remained. He might be blind, he might be bleeding, but he was not broken. This is why I mustn't let out any sound. This is how Dungeon and Stone thinks. In that case, let's do what's necessary first. There's paralyzing poison in this trap, the game notification echoed in his mind. Below, his own bitter thought surfaced. Darn barbarians. If only they had given me leather boots instead of useless sandals like these. A wave of despair washed over him. Heck, what's the point of saving all this now, he thought. But another voice, his inner strategist, snapped. Stop whining and get moving already. He gritted his teeth. If I need to fight, then it'd be better for me to do it quickly. Bjorn focused, trying to ignore the spreading numbness. Come on out, he mentally urged his unseen foe. I know you're hiding, so come out already. A grim determination settled in. I don't even feel fear because of the paralyzing poison. I guess that's a good thing. Suddenly, a guttural roar shattered the stillness. I said, come out, you son of a. Bjorn roared into the darkness, his voice raw with pain and fury. Then, a seed of doubt began to sprout. Or, could all of this be my own delusion and there really isn't a goblin here? But, even if I'm just acting like an idiot here. He took a shaky breath. Just stay where you are then. I will be leaving. A fierce resolve burned in his eyes. I'll become an idiot who survives. A mocking voice echoed from the shadows. Your mother's a goblin. More disembodied taunts followed. Your father's a goblin as well. This is dangerous. My bleeding isn't stopping. Your sibling is also a goblin. Your mind gets a little blank when they lose a lot of blood. Huh? It feels like my brain has been dipped in alcohol. Which is why. You're also a goblin. Then, it emerged from the gloom. A hulking, green-skinned goblin, wielding a crude axe. Bjorn, small and vulnerable with his shield, looked up in grim anticipation. A sudden sound made his eyes widen in alarm. Footsteps. The sound shifted, closer now. It moved. What's wrong? You can't take me insulting your family. The footsteps came from behind. It probably got closer because I was getting further away from it. Bjorn strained his ears in the darkness. Even though I know it's there, it's still problematic that I can't see it. Let's increase my speed of running away. His bloody, trapped foot, and his sandaled one. Below, the silent, swift steps of the goblin. Below, the small goblin with the axe watched his ascent. Bjorn gasped for air, disoriented. It's following while maintaining a certain distance. When I stop, it stops as well. He could almost taste the goblin's cruel amusement. It's rejoicing as its prey is bleeding away and dying. It's probably waiting for me to slowly die while being scared of its laugh. All right then, time to change plans. A searing agony had exploded in his leg. He'd gasped, his shield skittering uselessly across the damp floor. He'd crumpled, the rough-hewn ceiling a dizzying blur above. Ugh! A chillingly smug voice had echoed from the shadows. All right, your prey has collapsed just as you wished. A goblin, small and wiry, its green skin slick in the dim light, clutching a crude, blood-stained axe. It had croaked, its beady eyes glinting with a disturbing curiosity. A pebble had then struck Boren's forehead with a sharp thwack. Did it just throw rocks at me? To check if I'm dead? It's so hecking smart. They're definitely more intelligent as compared to barbarians. A sharp, commanding voice had then ripped through the silence. Come closer quickly. Red eyes, burning with cruel amusement, had pierced the gloom. Welcome. Boren, his vision swimming, had felt a surge of defiance despite the encroaching darkness. Now, Boren, fueled by fury and a desperate will to survive, lunged upwards, his one good leg propelling him towards the looming figure. The goblin shrieked, "Krrr!" Its fangs bared in terror as Boren's desperate attack fell agonizingly short. Boren thought in despair as a searing energy erupted from the cloaked figure's hand. What? Boren gasped, his eyes widening in disbelief as raw power slammed into him. My body is moving by itself. His arm, seemingly detached from his will, shot forward with unnatural speed and force. A final, desperate "Krrrrk" echoed from the goblin as Boren's errant fist connected with something solid before darkness finally consumed him. But even in the blackness, a new sense bloomed. I can feel vividly where the goblin is moving. A primal surge of power coursed through him. I'm stronger! Boren roared, his eyes snapping open. A realization crashed over him, sharp and clear. This body is different from the sick body that spent his whole life in the hospital. This is the body of a barbarian. With a guttural huff, Boren slammed his fist into the ground, the impact sending shockwaves through the stone. The red glow intensified around him, a raw, untamed power surging through his veins. He could feel the goblin's frantic movements, its panicked breaths. With a final furious surge, Boren ripped the restraints binding his arms. The goblin, before collapsing into a lifeless heap. A strange notification flickered before Boren's eyes. You've defeated a goblin. EXP +1. The hunt was over for now. Boren stared at his fallen foe, a strange mix of triumph and confusion swirling within him. The goblin's corpse began to shimmer and fade. Boren gasped, his breath catching in his throat. Its body is disappearing, as if this was the game. The shadowy figure, now nothing more than dissipating embers, left behind a single radiant gem. This is, Boren muttered, his gaze fixed on the crimson crystal. He cautiously reached out, the currency that's being used in Dungeon and Stone. He examined the gem closely. A grade 9 magic crystal. Its value is a piece of bread. A wry smile touched Boren's lips, a hint of his old self returning amidst the confusion. He chuckled softly. This is what I got for going through all that. Right, he murmured. This place is a world where labyrinths and monsters exist. Dead monsters would leave items behind and disappear. And in the city that's outside, there are familiar game sceneries and other races that live together. This is definitely the world within the game that I know of. But Boren's gaze fell to his bloodied leg, then to his powerful hands. I will never confuse my reality by thinking it's a game. You are still bleeding. The ominous warnings flashed. They had to survive. Hauling themselves forward in so much pain, another system notification, made him mad and cursing it. Him now thinks positive things of crawling like, it was preventing from hurting an injured leg, and he will not snap into another trap. Another trap passes by, there's another one. His bleeding was worsening as the time passed. The bleeding was getting worse by the step. As he was reaching his limit, he starts to think of getting help. Enduring the pain, he thinks of moving in a straight line is the best choice he had. Now thinking about past, about the guy he met at ceremony died or regained his original body. Now the time passes, his bleeding not stopping for a second, leaving him with only his 5% health. A voice echoed in their mind. If you do not receive treatment soon, the character may die. Him struggling his way forward towards the light. Thinks he is doing well as he was coming close to the light. They stumbled. Another fall. The world spun. I need to get to a lighter area. Their vision tunneled. I'm sure there's bound to be 1 or 2 people who can help. A cruel voice shattered their hope. What a joke. A sinister figure mocked them. Why would they help a dying barbarian like you? Their sanity frayed. I think I'm really going insane. Now I'm seeing illusions. You'll probably run into a monster before you encounter a human. Their sense of self fractured. My identity keeps splitting into two, joining back again, and getting dull again. I need to survive no matter what. Survive. Just look at you. How do you plan on doing that? Somebody, anybody, please. Loser, you're gonna die soon, aren't you? Just give up. Then you can be comfortable. I won't give up, no matter what. Then, a sudden, blinding light. But the stark reality remained. Warning, there is less than 4% remaining of the character's vitality. A final, desperate plea. Please, anyone. Figures descending from above. An adventurer? He exclaimed. Drouse, there's a dying barbarian over there. Two men talking. The warnings continued, relentless. There is less than 4% remaining of the character's vitality. Against all odds. Achievement accomplished condition. Vitality drops below 2% reward. Your mental stat will keep rising by +1. One person looked him and says he is a novice, while Barbarian thinks to help him already. Then we see a party of 5 people being suspicious of him. One man asked, "How did a novice get here faster than us?" Hell, gore. They tried to speak, but no words came. I can't even talk. Don't just stare at me and help me. The armored figure above remained impassive. With a smile on his face, he looked to his party member for help. Priestess Ursina, do you think you could treat this man? Another voice exclaimed. What? There's a priestess in your party. Barbarian, getting relieved, thinks. I'm safe. He was cut in his mid-thought. I refuse. High Priestess denied, watching down on the barbarian. Drouse scrutinized the recovering barbarian, a hint of amusement in his tone. He looked to one of his men asking him for a potion. As he had lods, he tried to argue with him for a bit before handing out one of his potion. Him now warning Barbarian about the pain he is going to feel, while Barbarian don't mind at all. Pouring the potion onto the leg of the Barbarian, smoke erupted. His vitality was going back to normal at fast pace. This made Bjorn eyes wide, not able to understand what is going on, as pain worse than ever rushes through him, made him cry louder than ever. Him now feeling like body melt, as well as realizing to not use this in mid-battle. As the potion bottle gets empty, Barbarian, out of breath, his foot healed as new without any left marking, stood up in a sense of relief from imminent danger. Bjorn thought he was really going to die but got lucky. Now the man who saved him asked him again how he got there before them. And even offering to buy that info, Bjorn realizes his motive, now looks at him. Finally spoke. I don't know. As soon as I stepped into the labyrinth, I was here. The man goes deep in his thoughts, checking his info. He thinks that this can happen, but only one every 100 years. Once every 100 years, the barbarian responded. They have a mage and priestess in this party, meaning they are at least mid to high level. Drouse turned away from the recovering barbarian with a dismissive wave of his hand. Interesting story. Thanks. You may leave. Never mind the cost for the potion, Drouse said. The barbarian considered their situation. Time spent within the labyrinth is as precious as gold. Him seeing the party leaving thinks, it's miracle they gave him this much time. Grabbing his shield from the floor, the barbarian, now standing, I should be happy that I survived, but it felt disgusting to be pitted. The man party going through cave in a line. Drouse, speaking to Patsrin, commented, that barbarian was really lucky. Lucky. He went through all that from the start. I'm saying he's lucky he met us. Girl from the back denies him, as he was luck to met Drouse, not him. Don't you think so, too, priestess? Priestess Erzina remained silent. If it weren't for the regulations of the temple, she would have healed him. Then, turning to Patsrin, Patsrin, you should really learn a thing or two from us. Drouse, hearing this, gave a wide, insincere smile. Ha ha, you're too kind, one of Drouse's companions asked. But when is this barbarian's blood trail going to stop? Another voice, judging from the mentality of the barbarian so far, I don't think he was all that lucky like you said. Drawn pointing to the shortcut while other praise him for his guidance. Two women talking that, how includable Drouse is for memorizing entire floor map, while other can't do that. A sudden stop, Drouse notices something. He saw a door and thinks of their luck to be first one there. Drouse, with a touch of his hand on a stone pedestal, opens up the portal with glowing white light coming from it, commanding his team to go, as it will lead them to next floor. Woman, while going in, notices something and asks everyone to wait. Everyone with serious expression watches her. She noticed the sandal of the barbarian they met laying close to the trap. The old man, casting a spell agreeing with her, sends a trail of light to the cave where the train of blood goes. This makes everyone in shock and in disbelief as they have never seen something like this before. Old Man, surprised, asked how long it would take to reach the area where they first encountered the barbarian. He was told it would be about 15 kilometers without the shortcut. The older mage commented on the barbarian's monstrous determination in crawling such a long way in complete darkness. The woman with the ponytail was shocked and questioned the barbarian's sanity. Someone wondered if they themselves would have crawled for hours without certainty. Patsrin realized the barbarian was holding out his right hand towards them, a gesture he didn't understand at the time. Holding a gem even after crawling so much. Drow's face looked not able to understand barbarian's gesture. Patsrin said, since he wouldn't have had anything else to trade. I take back what I said earlier. What was that barbarian's name? Someone asked. He was just lucky? Not at all. Such lunatics will not die unless it's a special circumstance. The scene flashed to a close-up of the barbarian's face, contorted in a primal scream, and no matter how hard things are or how much agony they must face, they will never treat death as an escape route. The echoing pronouncements, "You have defeated the goblin." He kept running into goblins, a relentless tide of green-skinned ferocity. They keep coming. He'd been nervous at first, but since his vision had returned, the goblins were no real threat. The traps were randomly placed on the ground, he thought. Idiots, at least cover it with dirt or something. Their ambush had been predictable, their hiding places obvious. Where are you going? He roared at a fleeing goblin. The only problem was, he thought, his brow furrowed. I'm so hungry. He vaguely recalled, I'm pretty sure the deputy chief gave me some food. He reached for his belt pouch. It was lighter than he remembered. Was it the wrong decision to crawl on the ground, finding only a meager amount left? Out of the 7 days' worth of rations, 5 days were gone. He chewed slowly. I guess I'll just have to eat as little as possible. Each bite of the crusty dehydrated bread was surprisingly delicious, but the dryness lingered. I'm getting thirsty. He scanned the dimly lit cavern. Where am I going to get water? In Dungeon and Stone, there is a hunger system. The memory of the game surfaced. But this isn't a game. IT was already such a hardcore game, but since it became reality, the difficulty is out of this world. He looked around at the alien landscape. This is just another world that happens to be similar to a game that I know. Since the deputy chief didn't give me water, I'm sure there's a supply of water in the labyrinth somewhere. Then he heard it. The sound of water. He followed the faint trickle and stopped short. A person. As he approached, the person looked up. Aside from that blondie's party, this was my first encounter, but there was no conversation. The other person simply got up and walked away. It's as if there's an unspoken rule not to interact with other adventurers unless absolutely necessary. Alone again, he focused on the glowing pink crystals dotting the cavern floor. I collected a lot. He sat down, leaning against a rocky outcrop, but there's another problem. A wave of exhaustion washed over him. I'm so tired. There are 2 ways in which you can sleep in the labyrinth. First, you leave your life in the hands of God and sleep. Or second, find allies to protect each other. The 2 exchanged uneasy glances. I am sorry, while the other declared, but we already have all the necessary members for our party. Our party is full. We're not keen on barbarians. He was left standing alone as they moved past him. But to think I would be rejected by all of them. His jaw tightened, his eyes narrowed. He turned back towards the departing group. It's not like I'm requesting to join your party officially. Hey, he saw one of them turn. Are you perhaps? The man began, looking for an overnight companion. The man offered, a hopeful smile on his face. What did you say? He growled, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. Who's this guy? The smiling man's expression faltered slightly. I guess you weren't looking for an overnight companion. A sudden realization struck the warrior. I am looking for an overnight companion. Relief washed over the friendly man's face. Then stay with me. My name is Hans. The warrior finally met Hans's gaze. I will. Reaching out to take Hans's hand. My name is Bjorn. Their hands clasped. It's best to have 3 overnight companions, but it seems like a waste of time to keep looking around for another member. A slight blush on his cheek. So why don't just the 2 of us spend the night? Bjorn's internal reaction was clear. Is it because of that guy's manner of speaking? Something seems strange, he thought. clearly uncomfortable with Hans's implication. Hey, alright, why don't we do rock, paper, scissors to decide who sleeps first? Hans grinned. Oh ho, I won. I can sleep first, right? Bjorn looked at Hans. Alright, he conceded. I knew I was going to lose. Since I have no luck. Hans held out a pocket watch. You can wake me up when the short hand reaches here. A flicker of annoyance in his eyes. I guess he thought barbarians don't know how to read the time. He examined the pocket watch in his hand. I'm sure this is how most people look at barbarians. The scene shifted to Hans, already asleep. Is that what an experienced adventurer is like? Looking at Hans's sleeping bag. Would he lend me his sleeping bag if I asked for it? It's so boring since there aren't any goblins or adventurers. His gaze fixed on the moving hands. Hurry up, time, he thought impatiently. The short hand was slowly approaching the Roman numeral 3. Hans, get up. Bjorn was shown shaking Hans awake. Hans, looking groggy, asked, did anything happen? All right, thanks. You should get some sleep too. I'll wake you up in 2 hours. Bjorn nodded. However, a close-up of Bjorn's eye revealed his inner turmoil. There's no way I could rest. Filled with suspicion. How do I trust someone I just met? The scene then showed Bjorn lying on the ground, seemingly asleep with his mouth open, like a savage who's had a long day. I hope he doesn't notice. Nope, it's working like a charm, since they assume that barbarians are simpletons. Alright, the dumb barbarian is sleeping like a log. The perspective shifted to Bjorn's slightly open eye. I'm sure he'll act if he's got ulterior motives. The next image showed Bjorn abruptly sitting up. I didn't sleep a wink. His eyes narrowed with suspicion and a hint of frustration. For 2 hours, did nothing. Hans, still sound asleep with his mouth open. I should have slept. What did I do? Hans asleep in his sleeping bag and Bjorn sitting upright. But there's no way I would let my guard down so easily around a complete stranger. Though I feel like I'm going to die from fatigue. His eyes heavy. I can't fall asleep. Above his head, the letters Bjorn. Bjorn's eyes snapped open. Hans reaching out to touch Bjorn's shoulder with a concerned expression. I wasn't sleeping. Why don't you wipe off the drool on your face first? Wiping his mouth with his arm. Sorry, Hans said. Well, it's all right. Thankfully, nothing happened while you were sleeping, so I won't say much. Seemingly oblivious, offered. Thanks. If you want, you can sleep more. I'll stand guard. Hans then smiled warmly at Bjorn. You look tired. Why don't you sleep since it's my turn to stand guard? Bjorn eyed Hans with a mixture of suspicion and exhaustion. Thanks. The scene then flashed back to Hans's initial approach. He seemed nice. He spoke to me first since I was in a tough situation, but didn't blame me for falling asleep, he considered, and refused to be compensated for my mistake. Bjorn thinks that the game he knows, while laying on the floor sleeping, there was no one. That was nice. He opens his eyes in middle of his sleep. He saw Hans on his head asking him is he up, now focused on huge hammer ready to slam Bjorn head, asking him to sleep more. While Bjorn lays around in shock still sleepy. Hans smashes his hammer on ground. Bjorn dodging the hammer. Pulls back with his shield guarding himself from any other attack. Hans in shock as his attack failed and he dodged. Muscles corded and etched with tribal tattoos, stood over his fallen opponent. His crimson eyes stared down at the trembling form below. Wait, listen to me for a moment, the purple-haired man stammered. But the barbarian warrior's gaze was unwavering. Crushing blow followed. The impact a sickening thud. The purple-haired man cried out, blood splattering the cavern floor. The barbarian's boot came down hard, pinning the other man. Wait, I can explain, the purple-haired man pleaded. The barbarian's gaze narrowed. He didn't die with one hit. Then I need to strike him one more. With a savage yell, the barbarian brought his shield down with brutal force. The purple-haired man screamed, the sound cut short by the impact. He lay still for a moment, then gasped, as if narrowly escaping death. The barbarian loomed over him. I am sorry, the purple-haired man choked out. Please, let me live, he begged, reaching out a trembling hand. The barbarian's face was a mask of fury. Why did you do it? He demanded. The purple-haired man confessed. I wanted your magic crystals. I was going to knock you out and just take them. Believe me, I was going to take your shield, too. Yeah, the barbarian sneered. Yes. Will you let me go? He's still hiding something. Another brutal strike landed. The barbarian stood over him, This is the last time. Be honest. Bjorn thinks that it's serious to kill someone, but there has to be another reason. Hans replying your heart. Bjorn, not able to understand, asks him, what does that mean? Hans explains as the price of their hearts are steep and are used as ingredients for new spells. Now Bjorn understood that he was just goblin for Hans, which is tough to catch, but if you catch and kill, it's precious enough to give a big reward. Bjorn asking him about why he did not attack him first time. He replies as he needed some rest too, sensing his impending doom, made one final, desperate plea. But since I told you everything, you'll forgive me, right? The barbarian stood silent for a long moment, a cruel smile stretched across his lips. Forgive, he echoed. I'm probably going to run into more people like you, and they'll say the same thing to me, right? Do you really think that I'm going to? The barbarian thought. Forgive them every time. And no, of course not. I'm not like those people. But the barbarian's mind was made up. Raising his bloodied fist, he declared, his bloodied hand still weakly gripping the chain. Only one day after entering this game world, a detached thought echoed within him. He looked down at his bloodied hands. I killed a man. A notification flashed in his vision. Achievement accomplished. 2 days since entering the game. He observed his gear, the shoulder pad, the backpack, the hammer, the shield, each acquisition marked by a subtle increase in power. I graduated from living like a savage. I drank water from my bottle when I became thirsty, used my compass when I wanted to know which direction I should go, looked at the pocket watch when I wanted to know the time, and was able to treat injuries with bandages and potions. Isn't it ironic? Only when I killed a man was I able to start living like a man. He turned his back on the fallen figure and began to walk away, deeper into the glowing cavern. He soon encountered more threats, goblin-like creatures. With one hit of my hammer, the goblin disappears. He now thinking that should he have chosen weapon from beginning, or is it because he has body of barbarian? Suddenly, he stopped. 2 more goblins stood before him, their crude weapons raised. Since it's the second day, the goblins have started appearing in pairs. My battle stats have gone up thanks to my new weapon, and my progress is going smoothly, he thought, each fallen enemy a testament to his growing power. Smashing all goblins in his way, he dispatched them quickly, but the constant fighting began to take its toll. I'm going to die from fatigue, he thought. He leaned against a cold rock wall. I may not have an overnight companion, but I might be better off without one. Jolted him awake. His eyes snapped open to see a goblin. As soon as I start to doze off by myself, they decide to show up. Rage surged through his weary body. It hasn't even been 10 minutes. A brutal swing of his hammer connected with a sickening crunch. Since I killed all of them within my sight, please stop appearing, he pleaded silently. Please let me sleep just a little. The character has been attacked by a goblin in their sleep. A sharp stab of pain in his shoulder ripped him back to consciousness. His eyes widened in disbelief and fury. I didn't sense it at all. Another furious strike echoed through the cavern. The goblin, caught off guard by the sudden counterattack, recoiled in surprise. Bjorn commands next, as he stands on the pile of goblin body, while the last goblin in fear runs away seeing his family die. Bjorn in pain thinks that he could have died there if the stab was on his throat. To think he did not even sense them gives him more reason to sleep, opening a healing tube. How is it that healing with the potion hurts more than being stabbed? The pain intense but necessary. He finally managed to get back on his feet. It's about time people started looking for overnight companions. But I can't trust anyone now that I know how valuable barbarian hearts are. Let's look for a barbarian. However, his search was quickly interrupted. Hey, barbarian, are you looking for an overnight companion? The barbarian's immediate reaction was one of suspicion. The encounter continued as the humans persisted. The barbarian found himself in a tense standoff with these humans. I'm looking for another barbarian, he stated. The man he was asking tells him that it would be difficult as all barbarians would have gone to upper floors, him now agreeing as it was laughable, with his body to be struggling on first floor. Other man saying their byes and blessing him, thinks to give up on finding barbarian, now he just wanted an overnight companion which could be anyone but human. He thinks of having an elf, as they keep their promise, or even dwarfs would do. But it doesn't matter as long as they're another species. They wouldn't harm other adventurers being blinded by chump change like humans. After making this decision, the barbarian found himself roaming the dark, damp confines of a cave for about an hour. Suddenly, his eyes widened in surprise. Ahead, seated alone against a cold stone wall. As he drew closer, the figure was revealed to be an elf. However, her posture was one of distress. Her luminous golden eyes flickered upwards, meeting his gaze. "Found you." A stark message then appeared, clarifying the situation. "You have encountered an injured ELF." An injured ELD sitting at the corner of the wall was horrified to see the barbarian. A low voice carried on the wind, as the system message confirms with a notification, "You have encountered an injured elf." Bjorn started the conversation by asking her, "Is she alone?" She was fiercely guarded, every muscle tensed, every instinct screaming for caution. He thinks that she is on guard because of his large barbarian body approaching an injured elf all alone. Her injuries were starkly apparent. "She's injured on her stomach," implies she is not wounded by goblin. The warrior's voice, rough but not without a hint of concern, cut through the tension. "Were you hurt by a human?" As he comes closer to her, elf no longer stands to make her move, suddenly falling on her knees slamming the floor. Then, in a moment of raw, the elf looked up at him, her golden eyes pleading, hands clasped together in supplication. "Please help me, mister," she cried. The warrior was momentarily stunned to see her pleading him, and not fighting. She pleads with a tear in her eye, to Bjorn to let her go once as she had, a little brother at home waiting for her. Bjorn stunned to see an elf like her for first time, as majority in this game are too cold, and thought she would be like that too. He then sits thinking, if I knew her personality, I would have approached her differently. Let's get rid of the misunderstanding by giving her a smile. Suddenly, a voice emerged, filled with an unexpected reassurance. "Don't worry." The elf, her eyes widening slightly, found a flicker of fragile hope amidst the pain and utter confusion. His terrific smile made another impression on her. As he clears his intention to not kill her, elf gets more terrified, starts crying, pleading him to give her one last chance and to let her go. Bjorn looked on with deeply troubled eyes, thinking, what the hell do all the barbarians do? As he takes some medicine out from his bag, thinks, why is she so intimidated from one sentence? Throws the medicine to her, asking to treat her wounds first, and after that they can talk. Seeing identifies them as lyco leaves and bandages, also clearing Bjorn's suspicion of poison leaves. She blushes to receive help from him, ask why was he helping her and gave these leaves to her. Must there be a reason to help someone? But thinking something else in his mind, well, there is a reason. Bjorn offering a hand speaks, I'll stand guard, so treat your wound first. As elf still remains doubtful, while Bjorn thinks, I want to become overnight companions with this elf. It may sound trashy, but it's not exactly the worst situation for her either, as the elf in front of him was also injured, fatigued, yet possessing and a beautiful appearance. She finished leaving the some blood on leaves and bandages. Bjorn in shock to see her done, mused, already? I guess she's pretty handy. Since she seems to be less guarded, we should make our introductions. Then Bjorn, who had first found the elf, finally introduced himself. My name is Bjorn, the son of Jandel. Elf with a dedicated focus, her own thoughts filled with concern, introduces her to him. Erwin. Bjorn wanting to know her ask, why are you so afraid of me? Erwin explaining the simplest of truth to him. Since I'm an elf and you're a barbarian. He remembers that barbarians and elves are hostile towards each other, a scene of them fighting each other. A slow dawn broke in Bjorn's mind. Right, he exclaimed. I guess it is relevant. She stammered. I mean, the war ended 10 years ago already. I harbor no ill will towards barbarians. Trailing off as Bjorn absorbed the new information. How much time has passed from the game that I'm aware of? I don't harbor ill will, either. A flicker of surprise, then relief, crossed Erwin's face. Seized the opportunity. So, Erwin, would you like to become my overnight companion? I am incredibly tired right now. I'm sure you are too, so why don't we cooperate for today? Erwin, still wary, sought a final assurance. I heard that barbarians consider their warrior's honor to be of utmost importance. Could you swear upon your warrior's honor that you will not harm me? Bjorn didn't hesitate. An oath. Well, I don't give a shit about the warrior's honor, but I guess I can use it from time to time. All right, he declared aloud, rising slightly. But let me go over this first. I'm not Mr., but Bjorn, the son of Jandel. I don't know about me, but Bjorn is only 20 years old. He paused, then with the full weight of his tribal heritage, declared, Hey Bjorn, the son of Jandel, swear upon my warrior's honor. I, Erwin Fornaxi de Terja, swear upon the name of my tribe. I vow to not harm the other party during this night. I can finally get some proper sleep. He looked at her, Then I will sleep first. I'm sure you would prefer that too. Before settling down, Bjorn pulled out a pocket watch. It's expensive, so handle it with care. As Bjorn lay down, to think it would be this difficult to get some sleep. I'll pretend to sleep for about 10 minutes and... His eyes snapped open, a sudden jolt of alarm. Mr. Erwin's voice cut through the quiet. What time is it? Bjorn demanded, sitting bolt upright. It's been 2 hours. Him wiping the drool from his face, not knowing when he fell asleep, and puts the blame on blanket. Now he gives them to Erwin to use as it was her time to sleep. Her expression shifts from hostile to respect. Thanks him as she went to sleep, not wasting any time of her. Went to sleep as soon as her head hit the ground. Bjorn realizes that. She was also exhausted too, since her day was probably tiring as his. Now sitting thought that it was 5 days but was only 3. Been feeling better after some sleep. Thinks about his body in real life. Has been reported as missing or not. Stops thinking as there was nothing there for him even if he goes back. After a few more turns of standing guard, it was time to get going, he acknowledged to himself, the practical barbarian in him overriding his weariness. 10 minutes left. I wonder if I should ask her again. He weighed the pros and cons. Since she's an elf, she'll pull her weight in battle, but if we become allies, I need to split the rewards with her, so my share will decrease. Though the goblins have been appearing in swarms since 3 days ago, I can easily defeat 3 to 4 goblins by myself. Safe sleep, or more magic crystals. His senses on high alert. As he saw 2 men coming from another direction, talking to each other. Hey, isn't that the elf? A gruff voice called out. I think so. The bow and arrow look similar. Bjorn's hand instinctively moved towards his weapon. Hey barbarian, what's your relationship with that elf? Tells him about overnight companion, which was new for a human to see, asks him how much time left, to which Bjorn gets angry, as he had not obligation to respond to him. This made the 2 men taken aback in fear, but one realizes something with a faint smile, orders another to go from there. Leaving the place, Bjorn got a bad feeling through their interaction. As they were looking for the elf, he tries to wake Erwin up, shaking her. 5 more minutes. Erwin murmured, still half asleep. Bjorn's patience snapped. You're about to get destroyed, yet you want to keep sleeping, he thought. Erwin, get up, he commanded, but Erwin only stirred with a soft a flicker of suspicion in his gaze. She's pretending to be asleep, his hand adjusting the blanket that had been loose, now deliberately covering her face. With a sudden force to pick her up, Bjorn made her sit, asking her, why are you pretending to be asleep? If I get up, a voice, laced with fear, cried out, you're going to desert me, a desperate plea hanging heavy between them. Erwin and I are not official allies, but temporary overnight companions. The oath was over as soon she opened her eyes, picking his stuff up to get going, inquires her about the previous 2 men from before. Nothing happened. Then how do they know you? Replied. They're probably from the same clan as the human who tried to hurt me. She explains to him they are from same crystal union, as they have same mark on clothes. Bjorn, realizing it was not only 2 men but a whole group, thinks of parting ways with elf, but stopped by seeing an anxious elf who was only 20 years old, orders her to talk while they move. Erwin, watching his back with slight hope, asks him that was he going to help her, but Bjorn would decide that after hearing her story first. A glimmer of hope on her face erupted. As Bjorn tells to listen while moving, as they were already behind their schedule, she starts her explanation from when she first met them. As overnight companion, she sensed something strange, so she opened her eyes to see a man standing at her back undoing his pants, and his face drooled, asking her to sleep more, while she states, she found out that he was the manager of the clan who does business on the 1st floor. She managed to escape somehow, but his companions kept attacking her, which made her injured. Bjorn, not understanding her, asks, how did they find her in this vast cave? Tells him that they used message stones, which did not exist in the game Bjorn played. She further explains, magic stone are devices to communicate, and their range is up to 300 meter. He realizes that the device is similar to a walkie-talkie, and if he leaves her alone, she will be caught by them for sure. Bjorn asks her what did she do for the union members to chase her, as she did nothing wrong till now. Adds, is it to shut you up? Erwin adds with sad look, it's not just that, explains. When I was escaping the first time, I flung my knife around, and it happened to hit him somewhere bad, made Bjorn in shock as he realized what she is talking about. Still asks her what does somewhere bad means to her. She blushes, as struggles to speak the part, smiles, telling him it was completely severed and could not be even attached back with potions. Bjorn, with grim look, thinks that it is more than enough of a reason to chase her, correcting himself by putting it on Karma, while they still kept running. Erwin notices something with wide eyes. Tells him, "Mister, there's someone following us. Don't look behind you." The distance is about 150 m behind. He realized that the distance is far for him to sense anything, and this was the ability of elves with which they are born. He asks her to increase their speed even more, to which Erwin too agrees with him, her face etched with determination even as the wound has reopened, yet she's not complaining about it at all. She's got guts, he thought, dashing forward. The distance between the chaser and us? He asked while running. Even though we increased our speed, the distance isn't increasing. That's going to be dangerous. We have to eliminate them. If I were their target, that's what I would have decided. So I must think carefully. What's the risk I am taking? Mister, the elf responded, slightly taken aback. He pressed on, if I'm going to make a sound decision, I need more detailed information. Erwin, what are you good at? She replied. I'm good at laundry and cleaning, though I'm bad at cooking. Annoyed from her reply, during battle, Erwin embarrassed finally realized. Erwin responded with surprising composure. I'm good at archery, she further revealed. I can also use spirit magic. He acknowledged her abilities, thinking, she's the perfect example of an elf archer, and if it's flame, it's the rarest element. Then came the piercing question. Have you killed anyone before? Erwin hesitated, looking down. No, but her gaze hardened, lifting to meet his. But I can do it. The man considered her answer, his expression thoughtful. I see. Erwin, would you like to become my comrade? Until the end of the labyrinth, and he will get 9, and she will get 1. Her immediate determined reply was, I'll do it. Now for the current problem. The distance now? 100 m. The man's brow furrowed. We're running as fast as we can, and they're still closing in. A new strategy was needed. Rather than continuing to run, he shifted his grip on his massive hammer, as he prepared for a sudden change. Erwin, we're going to veer off. Summon the spirit. They abruptly changed direction, diving into a shadowy, crystalline cavern. To think I would come back here on my own. They feel closer now. Now cancel the summon, he instructed Erwin. Okay, she affirmed, and the fiery spirit dissipated. The sudden silence, broken only by their footsteps, was unnerving. They came in even though they couldn't see, and stopped right by us. They must be someone who's got proper tracking methods. He orders Erwin as they stood in dark facing the enemy to shoot. Her eyes fell on the man in the dark. She charges her bow, detecting the man's exact location. Ready to fire, fires the arrow, at him with huge force. The arrow flew straight towards his head, killing him on the spot with only one arrow. Blood splattered from his body. While they both watch him, Erwin was disgusted to see a man die in front of him, which he killed himself. Bjorn compliments her, calming her down. Tells her that they would have died if she hesitated. He goes towards the body, leaning towards him, saw a device in his hand, picking it up as some voice call for the dead man, realizes he is dead, orders others who is listening to the broadcast to gather at the Goblin District. Bjorn was one who listened to their announcement, as he goes through the loot from the dead. The loot was not good as it only had daggers, 1 potion bottle and some money, and the clothes were given to Erwin, as she had no spares. Bjorn tells that this will be much better from before, sitting next to her. He also realizes that her aura also changed in a good way, asks her about how to use the stone. Leaning over tells him that there is a button on the side. Bjorn presses the button on the device. The comms crackled. I repeat, Serdin, who was in pursuit of the elf, was defeated, located in the Goblin District. Erwin the elf flinched, clutching her hand. Mister, her eyes wide with fear. Bjorn, calming her down, tells her to summon her spirit, as they are going to travel along the outskirts. As they are going to the 2nd floor, Erwin could not believe her ears. Asks him were they really going only themselves, sliding down the rock. Agrees to her question, she asked. The 1st and 2nd floors are completely different. You know that, right? I'm aware, he replied, his voice firm. Bjorn tells her they will be all right if they stay near the entrance, as they are good match. Erwin surprised, we're a good match, she asked, her voice small, almost hopeful. That's right. A melee tanker and a long ranger dealer has always been a good match. She hesitant as it was their first time, so how can they go 2nd floor already? Sudden voice from the device came telling to, the person who finds her can have her first. This made Erwin tremble in fear, as Bjorn calms her down by saying he is not leaving her. Another voice came saying if she is hesitant then cut some parts, but to leave some important ones. This made Erwin in deep fear, as she agrees to go to second floor with Bjorn. Bjorn thinks, I guess that was good timing, since I don't need to convince her anymore. I always liked helping those in need, when it was beneficial to me, of course. So, if I could kill such disgusting trash, and have the self-satisfaction of doing good, it'd be the best of both worlds. There's no reason not to help. He pulled her along. Mister, do you even know how to get to the second floor? He hadn't, not precisely. But if they keep heading north, they will get there eventually. The dungeon is designed in such a way that if you keep following the darkness, you will reach a portal. Mister, wait, the archer warned suddenly, her voice sharp. There's a goblin trap. Bjorn halted, observing the ominous, teeth-filled maw in the ground. As they appeared after a long time, realizing that they don't appear in light. And he was just unlucky to stumble upon them. Erwin reels her sleeves, telling Bjorn to rest as she is going to handle it on her own. As she moves forward summoning her spirits, Bjorn tells her to not use them here. She was not expecting that but agrees in embracement, as she comes closer to the trap. Thinking how did he know? Suddenly 2 goblins come from above her, trying to attack. She dodges their attack moving backwards. As she sits on the ground, taking aim, shooting her arrow at the goblin's head killing him, another goblin finds an opening and dashes towards her, swinging his sword to slice her and injure her, but he dodges again and comes from behind the goblin already a charged bow, aimed at his head. She concentrates her arrow at him, killing him in one go, dissipating his body in air. She proudly watches Bjorn incensed to get praised ask him about her fight with goblin. Bjorn, observing her lithe movements, replied, You did well. You really must be an elf with that kind of archery. She offered him the magic crystals dropped from the goblins, telling him, You get 9 and I get 1, right? Passion in her eyes. There's something my younger sibling has been asking me for. If we keep progressing like this, I'll earn a little bit too, right? He continued, Right, work hard. Ilara simply nodded, transmitting additional details. We're raising the bounty of the elf to 20,000 gold. Don't worry, there's no one who will search in the dark for us. And these bastards don't seem like they have the best teamwork. But it's suspicious. Things are going too well. Judging by the timing, something bad should happen soon according to my bad luck. A guttural groan echoed from the shadows. There's ghouls. Why are there ghouls here? He questioned. The ghouls are supposed to appear in the south. The sweat trickled down his temple. Did we roam too far and get to the border? Do I fight them by myself? She murmured, the tremor in her voice betraying a hint of fear. The experience awarding system for Dungeon and Stone is very strange. Bjorn tells to fight together. You are only awarded for the first time when you defeat a monster of the same species, he explained. I'll take the lead, so you take care of the ones at the very back. If this is like the game, the ghouls should not attack until you're within a certain range. In the gloom, a monstrous face emerged, jaw slack, eyes burning with a malevolent glow. Thankfully, this is going as I expected, the warrior thought as ghoul come rushing towards him to attack. He bashes and stopes them in its place with his shield. His eyes narrowing. Ghouls are stronger and faster than goblins. A fiery, sweeping arc of a weapon flashed in the fading light. As one approaches from behind him, he thinking as they are simple because they are rank 9, suddenly the behind one gets shot from an arrow killing him, covering Bjorn back, as he thinks with a trusty comrade this is piece of cake. They pressed on, into the deepening shadows. Blood splattered on the floor took the attention of the elf, checking it as it was not blood of goblin and it was of human. Bjorn standing silently behind her thinking that this blood can be or may be his, as he remembers his past. His sandal and blood all over the place make him 100% sure it was his, stands there quietly in embracement. The first location I stepped foot in once I got to the labyrinth. He whispered, looking into the darkness. Behind it was precisely where the portal was. He remembers his struggle as he entered the dungeon, his face a mask of disbelief and frustration. Are you kidding me right now? He bellowed. Beside him, the elf stumbled. The portal was less than 10 m away from my starting point. If only I had gone in the other direction. Just how much bad luck do I have? Then, a sudden panicked voice sliced through the air. If there's something I did wrong. The warrior looked at her. What's up with her? He wondered. It's not because of you. A sudden sharp ah escaped her lips as she understood. Mister, you've gone through so much, she murmured. Did she actually figure out why I was behaving that way from this situation? The elf then closed her eyes, her hands clasped together in a gesture of prayer. He must have lost a precious comrade here. He looked at the elf, who now had a resolute expression on her face. "Anyway," he began, then asked, "are you ready to go up?" "Let's go." "Okay," she replied, a bright, confident smile on her face. Together, they moved with purpose, into the white glowing portal, their feet striking the ground with a firm thud. A message appeared before them. "You have arrived on the second floor, the Goblin Forest."